I never imagined that a millionaire CEO's blind date for his autistic son would change everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with tension. My heart hammered in my chest. I stood on the edge of chaos, trembling as I awaited the arrival of a single, fateful moment. The glitter of the city's skyline gleamed beyond my window, but all I could see was the suffocating silence that enveloped me, every tick of the clock echoing like an ominous drum. I felt utterly alone, lost in a sea of expectations. Joshua, my son, was different. Brilliant in ways the world often overlooked, but lost in places I struggled to reach. His laughter always sent warmth through my bones, yet today it felt like a distant memory, buried under the weight of other people's opinions. At 10 years old, he was like a puzzle, missing pieces that were just out of grasp. On this day, I seized an opportunity handed to me by fate, a blind date set up by his well-meaning, yet overzealous father, a millionaire CEO who had everything but understanding. I could sense the stakes were higher than I wanted to admit. I felt nauseated, anxious. I could envision Joshua's face when he met his date. The excitement mingled with dread. Would he hide behind me, nervous? Or would he embrace this strange situation with an open heart? I had to prepare him, but how? I remembered the stories I read him at night, the characters who found each other amid confusion. Yet stories are just stories. This was real life, and the thought scared the hell out of me. The doors slid open, and in walked the blind Dati, an enigma cloaked in confidence. She was dazzling, her presence filled the room. I could feel the eyes of the world piercing through us. The weight of judgment hung heavy. Was she here to help us, or to put Joshua in a box too? As I looked closer, I saw a softness in her gaze, a glimmer of understanding that punched me right in the gut. Maybe she could reach him where I couldn't. My heart leaped, teetering on hope. But before I could voice anything, my phone buzzed. A message. Not everyone will accept him. This is a mistake. Each word cut sharper than the last. I glanced at Joshua. His joy was infectious. The stark contrast sent a wave of conflicting emotions crashing over me. Would this date shatter his spirit? Suddenly, laughter erupted from the other side of the room, too loud, too mocking. Snapshots of souls whispering, judging. I could hear their thoughts like echoes in my mind, wrapping around us in endless chains. My pulse quickened. I felt the burning of tears stinging my eyes. This wasn't just a date, it felt like a cage. Then, just as the moment reached its boiling point, Joshua smiled. A radiant, pure smile that lit up not just his face, but the air around him. My heart swelled. He turned to the girl, eyes wide with curiosity. I held my breath, each heartbeat marking a moment of potential distraction or disaster. Would she play along? Would she see the beauty in his differences? Just when I thought we might break through, I caught her expression shifting. Confusion flickered across her face as she froze, scrutinizing Joshua as if he were the biggest puzzle of all. Could this be the moment that everything turned? My stomach churned as I tried to hold on to the hope whittling away. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence that followed felt like an eternity, stretching seconds into what felt like lifetimes. I held tightly to the back of the chair, my knuckles whitening, hoping that her gaze would soften, that maybe she would see the wonder in Joshua's wide eyes instead of the strangeness. I felt overwhelmed, the kind of overwhelming that felt like a deep pit opening inside my chest. But then, just as swiftly as confusion spread across her features, intrigue replaced it. I can help you with that puzzle, she said, her voice warm and light, lifting the heavy air slightly. Her words felt like a lifebuoy tossed into a raging sea. Joshua's grin widened. Understood, not the nuances of her statement, but the essence of kindness woven into it. Do you like puzzles? He asked, a spark igniting with newfound hope. She smiled back, genuine and soft. I do. Actually, I find them fascinating. Each piece holds a story, just like every person does. I sense the air shifting around us, the heavy weight beginning to lift. Perhaps this was the breakthrough we so desperately needed. As they continued conversing, a strange warmth began to seep through the cracks in my chest, mingling with trepidation. Could it be that she was different? My mind rushed ahead, fearing the worst while desperately wanting to cling to this unexpected compassion. But deep down, the whisper of my earlier message lingered. The world could still be unkind. The date unfolded in a kaleidoscope of hesitant laughter and curiosity. Joshua seemed unfazed by the initial stiffness, as if he had applied all his imagination to their words, crafting an invisible bridge between them. I yearned for a moment where I could catch Joshua's eye, to share that secret understanding we had, our unspoken bond. But the atmosphere sparkled with possibilities, and I didn't want to tarnish it with my own fears. Then, just as I relaxed for the first time that evening, a group of teenagers, perhaps from the neighboring diner, burst through the door. Their loud chatter and raucous laughter cut through the moment like a knife. One boy leaned against the frame, eyes sweeping the room, finally landing on us. "Hey, what's this? The charity case and the rich girl?" He sneered, punctuated by his friend's foul laughter. My heart sank, and my instinct kicked in. Protect. Shield. I moved to intervene, but before I reached for Joshua, I noticed how he shifted beside me. His body seemed to tremble, fear lacing his bright eyes. The moment hung in the air, heavy and electric. But the girl, the one who had barely faltered at his differences, stood up, her presence now radiating with something fierce. "You'd be surprised what we're all capable of when you look deeper," she challenged, defiance embodying her voice. The teenagers faltered, momentarily taken aback by her courage. Joshua looked up at her, his confusion slowly melting into understanding. She wasn't afraid of them or the words they threw around like missiles. In that split second, I felt a shift within him, a glimmer of reassurance, a light where doubt had once camped. I caught my breath, the fire within her igniting something in me. Hope seemed a little less fragile, but just as quickly, I felt a crushing weight descend once more. Would this moment merely be a flicker, destined to be snuffed out by the unrelenting darkness of the world? The tension hung like a storm cloud, but the girl's eyes held steadiness as she stepped closer to Joshua. "Have you ever built a sandcastle?" she asked, trying to redirect his attention. "You know, those beautiful towers, all made of pieces before the tide comes in?" He blinked, his unease slowly replaced by fascination. "I have. But we need to work together, or it'll fall." "Exactly," she replied, her voice gently echoing his wisdom back to him. "And that's what makes it special. You can't do it alone." For a heartbeat, it felt like we had all stepped away from the harsh realities of judgment, the mockery, and into a sanctuary built by shared stories, the charged air buzzing now with the possibility of acceptance. But as I let the warmth wash over me, the boy from earlier stepped forward again, venom dripping from his words. "Hey, don't talk to a kid like that. It's weird, and you're weird for doing this date." I felt sick. Just as I opened my mouth to defend Joshua once more, ready to confront the darkness in all its forms, the girl reached for Joshua's hand. "Let's show them how beautiful we can make it," she said, pulling him gently to his feet. Before I could process the moment, a sudden crash, followed by a shattering sound, erupted in the back of the room. My heart dropped, and the crowd turned, bodies stiffening. What was happening? I wheeled around, panic coursing through me at the abrupt turn of events. The gleaming skyline outside the window shone bright, but all I could see was the impending storm brewing within. What further could this night hold for us? I gripped the table tight, the shock seeping through, unaware that this was only the beginning of the turmoil that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, acceptance, and the courage needed to face the world. The loud crash echoed in the diner, and the atmosphere instantly transformed into one of confusion and fear. A waiter stumbled backward, a tray of glasses scattering across the tiled floor, the sound of shattering glass like an alarm bell ringing in my ears. Adrenaline surged through me, threatening to drown everything else out, but my instincts kicked into gear. I needed to protect Joshua. He looked wide-eyed, his initial excitement morphing into alarm. I reached out and wrapped a protective arm around his shoulders, feeling the trembling in his small frame. The girl, however, seemed unfazed, her resolve unbroken, albeit with a flicker of concern in her eyes. "What was that?" Joshua asked, his voice small, almost lost amidst the rising murmur of the diner patrons. "Just some clumsy waiter," I attempted to reassure him, keeping my voice steady, yet I couldn't ignore the fear gnawing at my gut. The girl knelt down to his level, her expression earnest. "Sometimes things get messy before they become beautiful. It's all part of life's puzzle," she said softly. I caught a hint of vulnerability in her gaze. This moment was affecting her too, but she wore her courage like armor. As the din of surprised onlookers rose, the teenage boy who had instigated the earlier confrontation guffawed. "Well, it's an awkward mess, isn't it? Just like this date." His friends joined in, their laughter ringing hollow and painful. I felt fire in my chest. The protective instincts that had been simmering started to boil. But before I could respond, the girl stood, her eyes sharp, face flushed with indignation. "You think it's funny to bring someone down? Do you find joy in belittling others who are brave enough to just be themselves?" My heart swelled with an unexpected pride as I watched her challenge him. There was something profoundly powerful in her words, a defiance that shattered the mockery hanging around us. Yet, the boy merely shrugged, unfazed. "What's there to be proud of? Show me one thing that proves you're better than this." His smugness oozed through each word, taunting. I looked at Joshua. This moment, laden with cruelty, risked seeping back into his heart, threatening to unravel the cautious steps Wed taken towards acceptance. But he didn't appear to notice the taunts around him. His focus was solely on the girl's encouragement. "Together, we can make something strong," Joshua blurted, his voice steady yet hopeful, as if he sensed the undercurrents of tension. Her gaze flickered down to him, and something shifted in her expression, a beautiful mix of determination and surprise. "That's right. If we stand together, we can build the most magnificent castle, one that can weather any storm." At that moment, I felt my throat constricting, the tension rivaling the anxiety settling in my chest. What I had unknowingly feared lay just beneath the surface, that, even in kindness, the world could turn. Then came another crash, more hurried footsteps, and within moments, the diner door swung wide. An officer stood in its frame, complete with an imposing uniform and a stern glare. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice firm, slicing through the chaos like a knife. My heart plummeted. I knew that sometimes kindness was overshadowed by misunderstandings, that compassion was not a shield from judgment. What could the officer possibly think of our little group, of Joshua and the girl standing defiantly beside him? "Just some kids being mean," one of the teenagers shouted, already easing back into the comfort of camaraderie. I gripped Joshua's shoulder tighter, feeling the heavy weight of uncertainty crashing down. I had come here tonight hoping for something special. All I could see now were fractures forming in the fragile connection we had built. But the girl stood her ground. "We were just talking about puzzles, about how you need to work together to create something beautiful." The officer raised an eyebrow, but before he could respond, I noticed something flicker in the distance. A woman whom I had not seen before was standing beside the door, her eyes locking onto mine. There was something profoundly familiar about her. Warmth radiated from her, yet her scrutiny felt like a heavy cloud hanging over our little oasis of hope. "Is everything all right in here?" she asked, her voice unexpectedly gentle. I felt a rush of panic. Who is she? Why did she look so concerned? And why did my heart race as if some hidden connection was starting to surface? "Yes," I choked out, desperate to reclaim our moment. "It was just a misunderstanding." But I could see the question in her eyes, the way they darted to Joshua, then back to me, a searching gaze that delved deeper, as if she was peeling back layers of both fear and hope. "Sometimes the world is tough, but it's the people we connect with that make it worth it," she said finally, her voice laced with experience. Suddenly, my heart dropped as I realized with dread, could she be the other parent I had avoided conversations with? The one I feared would bring judgments of her own, magnifying our situation into something unbearable? As I took a step toward her, the air thickened with tension, the diner fading from my focus. I needed to break through whatever was brewing beneath the surface, but instead, all I seethed with was silence. The world spun anew, a tapestry woven with kindness, pain, and the unsettling weight of unmade connections, just waiting to fall further apart. I felt the moment slip away, a shadow cast over us, and my heart raced with dread. What lay ahead, I realized, would alter everything I thought I understood about kindness and acceptance. A hush fell over the diner as the woman's penetrating gaze lingered on me, drawing out fragments of memories I dared not revisit. I swallowed hard against the lump in my throat, trying to shake the feeling that she was somehow privy to the struggle I carried like a heavy weight. "Who are you?" I blurted out, the words escaping me before I could catch them. The warmth in her eyes flickered, but she remained poised. "I'm just here for a meal," she replied, the nonchalance laced with something deeper. "But it seems like you're navigating more than just the dinner menu." I felt Joshua stir beside me, his slight frame shifting as he picked up on the tension. "Are you Mom?" he asked the woman, innocence threading through his voice like a lifeline. Everyone held their breath, and in that charged silence, it felt as though the ground beneath us teetered upon some unsteady edge. The woman's lips curled into a sad smile, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of recognition pass between her and Joshua. "Not exactly. But I know a lot about families that aim to show love in different ways," she said, a melancholy resolve settling in her tone. Joshua leaned closer, curiosity gleaming in his eyes. "What's your story?" he asked, and for a heartbeat, I marveled at how he found courage within the chaos, how he reached for connection despite the swirling uncertainty. "I've traveled many roads," she began, her voice soft yet tinged with strength. "Some filled with joy and others paved with sorrow and hope. Each has a lesson to teach if we're willing to listen." As she spoke, I tried to listen through the din of doubt drumming in my mind. What lesson lay behind those words? Would it be one I wanted to learn? Desperation clawed at me. I didn't want more lessons. I wanted to give Joshua a night to remember. I longed to wrap him in a cocoon of acceptance and joy, to banish the shadows creeping into our world. But before I could respond, the boy from earlier interjected again, the laughter of his friends surrounding him, resuming their jibes. "What a lovely little family moment. Whose kid are you here to rescue next?" he called, his voice filled with acid sarcasm. In an instant, I could feel the walls closing in, the hurtful barbs prickling the delicate bubble we had fought to create. Joshua's eyes widened, and I gripped his shoulder tighter, the threat of despair casting a pall over his bright spirit. Yet, the woman turned, her voice steadying in response. "You may think belittling others is strength, but true courage often comes from vulnerability and compassion. All of you have the chance to change a moment like this into something beautiful." There was a weight in her words that defied the noise around us, a call to everyone present to look beyond the shallow limits of mockery. I marveled at her resolve, yet a dark thought crept in her robust self-assuredness. Was she just masking her own wounds? Whatever, the boy shrugged, but this time, there was far less bravado in his voice. The laughter died away, and was replaced by an unsettling silence. Seizing the moment, Joshua stood a little taller, emboldened by the presence of the woman and buoyed by the tide of emotions thrumming through the diner. "You don't have to be mean to be funny. You could just be nice instead." His voice rang clear and true, an unwavering beacon amidst the shifting currents. The boy faltered, uncertainty revealing a gaping hole within his armor of bravado, and then quickly looked away. A ripple of murmurs emerged as the diners shifted uncomfortably in their seats, faces paling as they witnessed this unexpected confrontation. But amid the tension, I noticed the girl turn to Joshua, her eyes shimmering with admiration. "Yeah, kindness built the pyramids. Imagine what it could do here," she chimed in, gathering the attention of those still lost in their thoughts. Suddenly, the din felt lighter. Whispers of understanding began to ripple through, almost rising in dance. But just as I began to feel a flicker of hope, a cacophony of sirens blared outside, unmistakable and jarring. My heart sank, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. My mind raced the officer, the woman, A need for an explanation would this evening veer sharply into uncharted territory because of a simple noise, and then the door burst open again, this time revealing a frantic figure, a tall man, face flushed, chest heaving. "Joshua," he called, his voice thick with urgency. The world stilled as time fractured into jagged pieces. I felt a cold wave wash over me, uncertainty crashing against the fragile connections we had built. Who is this man? Why did he seem so desperate, and why was he here now? As his eyes found Joshua, a storm of emotion brewed between thema recognition that sent shivers racing down my spine. My heart pounded, a drum echoing the surge of chaos within, unsure of what this sudden arrival would mean. But one thing was clear: everything I thought I wanted for Joshua, for us, was about to unravel in a way I could never have prepared for. The diner felt suffocating, the walls contracting as the tall man's voice poured over us like a sudden downpour, drenching the warmth we had just managed to cultivate. "Joshua, come here." His eyes were wild with a mixture of fear and urgency, and I could feel my son's heart pounding beside me, a rapid response to an unfamiliar call. Joshua's small frame was rigid, caught between the strength of a moment that felt empowering and the uncertainty rising like a dense fog at the sight of this man. "Dad?" The word left his lips barely above a whisper, accompanied by a confusion that stripped away whatever bravery had just exhibited. A flicker of recognition washed over me, followed by flickering shadows of dread. This was the father from whom Joshua had been shielded, his absence an unspoken chapter in our lives that I thought I had closed. What could he possibly want now after all these years? "Dad, why are you here?" Joshua managed, his voice trembling slightly as if it was breaking under the weight of the moment. The tall man stepped forward, his desperation morphing into an urgency that made me uneasy. "I need to talk to you, buddy. It's important." His eyes were glossy, but the chill surrounding his presence made it difficult for me to find sympathy. How had he found us here, and why the sudden reappearance after an entire childhood passed without him? Important. I interjected, my voice laced with protective fury. "You left, and now you want to come back and stir things up as if nothing happened?" "Joshua is happy where he is, and we let him speak." The woman's voice cracked with an unexpected intensity that caught me off guard. She slid into a space that felt increasingly narrow, aligning herself closer to Joshua as if she were urging both him and me to remain open, to peel back the layers of our fears. What could he say that would change anything? I shot back, anger mixing with fear as the instinct to shield Joshua kicked in stronger than ever. The tension thickened, wrapping itself around our table like barbed wire, and I could feel the shift in the din. A collective breath held, waiting. "Please, I just want to explain," the man begged, his tone slipping into a more vulnerable note. "Things happened that I couldn't control. I've changed, and I want to try again." He reached out a hand tentatively, as if bridging a chasm still very much alive between them. For a fleeting moment, I watched Joshua waver in the eye of the storm. He turned to me, his young face awash with a mixture of hope and confusion that tore at my heart. "Mom, what if he really wants to be here now?" His voice was earnest, tinged with the natural longing for his father's approval. "Joshua, it's complicated," I said, my voice cracking but anchored to protectiveness. The ghost of my own pain seeped through, edging me to hold him close and shield him from this unexpected onslaught. "You don't need to chase after someone who abandoned you. Abandonment is a term that weighs heavily. I didn't mean to leave. Please let me show you." The man's voice cracked, the struggle within echoing the complexities of relationships I had barely managed to navigate myself. I felt the world spin around me, the diner transforming into a purgatory, a battleground for hearts and memories intertwined. The woman observed quietly, her expression poignant, as if she held some truth behind her eyes that could unravel this very moment. Her presence was unsettling, a reminder that we were not only shaped by our choices, but by the choices of those before us. As the whirlwind continued to swirl, a small hand slipped into mine, Joshua clinging, seeking assurance. "Mom, I want to hear what he has to say. I just want to know if he can really change." Listening to his burgeoning hope threatened to shatter my defenses. Yet, alongside the shards of fear, Something fragile burst to life within me, a flicker of possibility, a promise of connection that felt both thrilling and precarious. Just then, the diner door swung open again, and in walked a figure who seemed to ripple the taut air, a young woman, disheveled and breathless, with a pair of frantic eyes that darted around the room as though she were searching for something, or perhaps someone. Her gaze locked onto mine, and she thrust a small envelope forward, her hands trembling. "You need to read this. It's about Joshua," she panted, breathless with urgency, as if carrying the weight of secrets meant to alter everything we thought we knew. My heart raced. The room went silent, the air electric with unspoken words and rising tension. In that suspended moment, I realized that the tapestry of our lives was frayed and tangled, and unraveling the threads would take more than just courage. It would require a reckoning with truths buried in the past. "Joshua," I murmured, my heart racing, unable to fathom where this would all lead. What if this changes everything? The unease of uncertainty lay heavy on my tongue, a mix of dread and the thrill of the unknown. "Mom, I want to know," he replied, the resolve rising within him stronger than my fears. As the circle of faces surrounding us blurred into the background, I realized there was no escape from the revelations waiting to unfold. The atmosphere was charged, electric with vulnerability, and it was impossible to ignore that something monumental was brewing. A pivotal moment was upon us, and the choices made in this diner would resonate far beyond its walls, echoing in the hearts we held dear. The moment hung in the air like a fragile balloon, ready to pop. I could feel Joshua's grip tighten around my hand, his eyes wide and pleading. The urgency of the young woman was palpable, and slowly, I reached for the envelope. I had no idea what sort of revelation awaited us, but the weight of it felt significant, like the click of a lock turning just before a door swings wide into the unknown. "Please, just read it," the woman implored, desperation lining her every word. I nodded, but couldn't shake the worry gnawing at my insides. I carefully tore the envelope open, revealing a single sheet of paper, the edges crumpled as though it had been clutched tightly in a frantic hand. The hastily scrawled words blurred together for a moment as I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "Mom," Joshua whispered, almost reverently, as if the unspoken secrets were circling us like ghosts. "What does it say?" I unfolded the paper, my fingers trembling. The words seemed to leap from the page, becoming alive as they danced before my eyes. "Dear Joshua, if you're reading this, it means it's time to come home. I can't tell you everything in this letter, but I need you to know the man looking for you isn't just the father you thought abandoned you. He has something to tell you, and it's something that changes everything. You deserve to understand who you are." As I read those haunting lines over and over, I felt the heaviness of uncharted territory pressing down on us. "Who is this from?" I breathed, questioning the very foundation of the words etched on the page. Each sentence pulled furiously at the seams of my heart, unraveling histories I believed I'd buried. "I don't know," Joshua replied, his small voice piercing my thoughts. "But it sounds important. Like there's more to my dad than I thought." Before I could answer, the tall man who had sparked this whirlwind stepped closer, a look of concern flickering across his face. "What did it say?" His voice was softer now, one of curiosity rather than demand, and for a brief moment, I hesitated, caught between protecting Joshua and inviting him into a larger, more complicated world. The woman's breath quickened again, her anxiety palpable. "You need to find out the truth. Sometimes the things we fear most hold the key to understanding ourselves." I looked up into her eyes, searching for answers. "What do you know about this letter?" I challenged, desperate for clarity amidst the chaos. She took a step back, her expression converting from urgency to fear, but the tension still clung to her shoulders, a bear of responsibility refusing to leave her. I know how important family is," she faltered, glancing quickly at Joshua, and I could see the flash of recognition within her eyes. It mirrored some hidden understanding that sparked a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty. "I can help you," she offered, her voice laced with sincerity. The room fell silent, the sounds of dishes clattering and patrons mingling outside fading into a backdrop of unresolved feelings and erratic heartbeats. Joshua was watching me, his expression shifting from eagerness to confusion as he processed the invasive suddenness of it all. "What should we do, Mom?" I looked around the diner, the walls closing in around our table, our safe haven now turned into a crucible of stories waiting to be uncovered. "I don't know, sweetheart. But I think we need answers." As I glanced back at the woman, she nodded resolutely. "You deserve to know who your father really is and what happened. This isn't just about him. It's about you finding your truth." Just as I began to gather my thoughts, the tall man, seemingly caught between determination and despair, blurted out, "I can help with that, Joshua. I can help you understand the truth." His words tugged at something deep within me, a paradox of fear and hope battling for dominance, and there it was, a catalyst offering an unfathomable choice. Could I really consider reopening the door to a past I thought I'd locked away forever? The room suddenly felt constricting, the air charged with a palpable electricity that whispered of fading certainties. "Mom," Joshua's voice rang out, delicate as a butterfly's wings. "What if this is my chance?" I stood there, torn, knowing each decision would ripple through our lives like the shifting of tectonic plates. A truth I had spent years burying was resurfacing, and I couldn't stop it. The word chance echoed in my ears, heavy with implications that I dared to believe. But one thought loomed larger than any other. What if the search for truth unearthed more than just secrets? What if it ultimately tore apart the very fabric of the life I had fought so hard to build for my son? Biting back my apprehensions, I looked deep into Joshua's hopeful eyes, weighed down by the looming shadows yet bright with untapped joy. "We'll find that out together," I finally whispered, my heart racing again, not in dread this time, but in anticipation of the adventure lying just beyond the horizon. But before we could move forward, a sudden crash echoed from the kitchen, drawing our attention. It was followed by shouts and the clamor of commotion, intertwining the threads of curiosity, chaos, and uncertainty. My heart sank. In the wake of those words, something darker loomed. This very decision might place us all in the path of a storm yet to be revealed. I glanced around the diner, my mind racing with 1,000 scenarios I couldn't control. The world I thought I built was poised to shift beneath our feet, and no matter how desperately I clung to the hope we'd just begun to foster, I sensed that the revelations to come would challenge everything I believed true. In that moment of chaos, the past and future collided, and I knew then the choices ahead would demand more courage than I had ever summoned before. The clatter of plates and exclamations of startled patrons reverberated through the diner, a cacophony that echoed the turmoil spiraling within me. I clutched Joshua's hand tighter, grounding myself in the warmth of his small fingers, while my gaze darted toward the kitchen where the disarray unfolded. "Mom." Joshua's voice quivered slightly, his grip slackening as he sensed my trepidation. "I am here, love," I reassured him, exerting a calm that belied the tempest brewing inside. But a part of me wrestled with an inexplicable instinct to shield him from whatever shadows loomed just out of sight, shadows that were moments away from spilling into our fragile reality. "Perhaps we should leave," I suggested cautiously, still aware of the woman's watchful gaze. She remained poised, like a coiled spring ready to leap into action if need, a guardian of secrets and stories still to be revealed. "No," Joshua replied resolutely, his eyes wide with curiosity. "I want to know what's happening." And in his resolve, I saw mirrored the spark of determination I'd long thought buried under years of caution and fear. I took a deep breath, watching as the kitchen door swung open to reveal a frazzled waitress struggling to balance stacked plates. The tall man stepped forward, concern etched across his face. "It's just a small accident," he stated, turning our focus back to him. "But it shows you can't avoid surprises for long." I pondered his words, the weight of them imbued with the urgency of our situation. Sometimes life's messiness was unavoidable, wasn't it? How often had I sought to orchestrate every moment for Joshua, to protect him from unpredictability, only to realize that it was those very uncontrolled moments that paved the way for genuine connection. "Can we?" Joshua hesitated, glancing up at the tall man. "Can we go into the kitchen?" His voice trembled as he spoke, excitement battling with anxiety. My heart ached at the realization of my son's bravery in the face of chaos. Here he was, stepping forward to uncover the truth, while I wrestled with my own fears. "Are you sure, Joshua?" I asked softly. He nodded, eyes shimmering with both apprehension and the thrill of the unknown. "I want to see what's happening. It might lead to answers." With a deep, steadying breath, I acquiesced. "Okay then. Let's go together." As we navigated through the commotion, I spotted fragments of laughter amidst the chaos, the waitress reassuring a child at the counter, a couple sharing a knowing smile despite the noise. Perhaps we weren't alone in this. Our shared humanity often illuminated paths in the darkness. The kitchen was a flurry of activity, pots clanging and chefs shouting instructions. It was astonishing how quickly the moment had transformed from confusion to collaboration. The apparent crisis was dissipating through teamwork and camaraderie. A sudden commotion on the other side of the room caught my eye, drawing my attention. There, on a countertop, lay a toddler crying, sticky fingers gripping a teddy bear, an island of despair in this sea of clattering utensils. Without thinking, I approached her, instinct overriding hesitation. "Hey there," I said gently, kneeling beside her. "What's wrong?" The little girl looked up, tears glistening in her eyes. "I lost my unicorn," she sobbed, her soft wails drawing a few more glances toward her. "Can you show me where you had it last?" I asked soothingly, feeling an unexpected surge of maternal instinct sweep through me. Joshua wandered over, concern etching his features as he observed. "Maybe it'll help if we look for it together," he suggested, stepping forward to comfort her, a kindness unfolding like a blossom in our shared uncertainty. In that small moment, as Joshua knelt beside me, something crystallized within me. The power of connection amidst turbulence could lead to unexpected resolutions. "Okay," I coaxed, looking around. "Do you remember what it looked like?" The girl wiped her tears, sniffling. "It was pink. It had sparkles. Pink with sparkles it is," Joshua exclaimed, his heart illuminating his eyes as he took a sweeping glance across the chaotic kitchen. "It'll help you look." The determination gleaming in my son's eyes filled my heart with a warmth I hadn't realized I craved. Together, we formed a triangular, unintentional team of helpers ready to face the chaos with nothing more than the pure desire to connect and comfort. But as we delved deeper into the kitchen, navigating beneath tables and around busy cooks, a familiar voice suddenly sliced through the atmosphere, bringing closure to our fleeting moment of bliss. "Joshua," I turned, the world around me distorting, as I caught sight of a figure standing at the edge of the kitchen, a man with striking similarity to Joshua. He was tall, his dark hair sweeping back in waves, eyes piercing through the ambience, laden with urgency. For a beat, time suspended, my heart raced, a million questions darting through my mind. "Who are you?" Joshua asked softly, and in those 3 words, the air shifted. A truth lay just beyond the surface, pulsing with the potential to change everything we thought we understood. The man stepped closer, his expression a complex mixture of relief and apprehension. "I'm here for you, Joshua. I've been searching for a long time." In that pivotal moment, as the kitchen buzzed around us, one undeniable truth settled like a stone in my gut: our lives would never be the same again. The air thickened with tension, and the clamor of the busy diner faded into a dull roar, eclipsed by the weight of the man's words. My heart raced as I took a hesitant step closer, still gripping Joshua's hand tightly, as if it were a lifeline anchoring us in uncertain waters. The overwhelming realization of this stranger's presence, his voice familiar yet foreign, sent a cascade of questions swirling through my mind. "Who are you?" I finally managed to ask, my own voice barely breaking through the turbulent thoughts crowding my head. My instincts screamed to protect Joshua, but the sheer intrigue of the moment held me captive, battling against the instinct to flee. The man opened his mouth, and as he began to speak, Joshua interjected with a child's fearless curiosity. "Are you my dad?" His tone was innocent, but it ignited within me a raw wave of protectiveness. My heart squeezed painfully, a conflict of emotions flooding through me. Was this man truly here for Joshua? And if so, why now? He straightened as if bracing for an impact. He faltered, glancing between us, his expression a tapestry of hope and despair. "I'm your father, Joshua. You don't know me, but I've been trying to find you." "I thought Dad?" Joshua echoed, a mix of disbelief and yearning painting his features. My breath caught in my throat, and I felt the ground shift beneath me. I bit my lip, a flood of uncertainty coursing through my veins. My instincts screamed for clarity, for a deeper understanding of the man before us. You can't just waltz in here claiming to be his father. How is this possible? Why no? My voice trembled, straining to keep steady amidst the storm brewing within my heart. Please, let me explain, he said, his voice steadying despite the chaos around us. I know this all must seem surreal. You're well within your rights to be hesitant. But I've wanted to reach out for so long. After everything that happened, I've spent years searching for you both. Joshua's grip on my hand tightened, his small fingers trembling. I turned to him, wishing I could shield him from this revelation, from the weight of a father whose absence had loomed over our lives like a shadow. It's okay, sweetheart, I murmured, yet my heart was anything but settled. Why did you leave? Joshua's voice cut through our tension, a fragile courage lining his words. The man's gaze softened. It was never my choice. There were circumstances, things that spiraled out of control. I was taken away from you both. I didn't want to leave, but stop. I interjected, my heart pounding as adrenaline rushed through me. The whirlwind of emotion, fear, anger, confusion ramped up to a deafening crescendo within me. You don't get to explain how things happened as if that erases the years of absence. Joshua has a life, a happy one with me. You can't just show up and move things around like they're pieces on a chessboard. I know I'm asking a lot, he replied, determination lining his features. But I want to make things right. I've changed. I changed? My words fell like stones, heavy and unyielding. You think it's that simple? You vanished. You left him without a second thought. What right do you have to come here and stir up all these emotions? I know I don't deserve forgiveness, he confessed, his voice dropping to a whisper, a hint of sorrow piercing through the defensive walls I had built. But I want to be part of his life. If you'll allow me. For a moment, silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating. Joshua's eyes darted between the man and me, the innocence of childhood suddenly overshadowed by the weight of adult truths. Tears brimmed in his eyes as he searched for answers, grappling with emotions that had been thrust upon him without warning. I knelt down beside him, my heart aching. You don't have to decide anything right now, love. Just know I am here for you, no matter what. We can take our time. An unexpected interruption emerged from the corner, shattering the fragile moment we were trying to assemble. The toddler with the teddy bear suddenly reappeared, her face aglow with triumph as she hugged a small, sparkly unicorn to her chest. I found it, she exclaimed, laughter bubbling forth in stark contrast to the tension surrounding us. In that instant, the juxtaposition of chaos and joy struck a chord within my heart. Life continued to unfold, unpredictable yet beautiful, amidst uncertainty. As I watched the toddler twirl in delight, I couldn't help but wonder if finding joy in unexpected places was a lesson I had yet to embrace. Joshua, come on, I encouraged gently, knowing we were on the precipice of discovering far more than just the truth of this man standing before us. Let's step outside for a moment. But as we began to retreat from the weight of those daunting questions, the man's voice sailed through the air like the remnants of a storm. Please don't run away. You deserve to know everything. There's so much more I haven't told you, something that could change your life forever. As I led Joshua toward the exit, my heart pounded with unresolved fears, a cliffhanger trembling just beyond the horizon. We stepped out into the cool night air, emotions spiraling within me, while the man's words echoed in my mind, a promise of revelations yet to come, teasing with the tantalizing yet terrifying notion that nothing would ever be the same again. The cool night air hit me like a splash of cold water, invigorating and terrifying all at once. I took a deep breath, trying to ground myself, to shake off the raw intensity that still lingered like a heavy fog after such an emotional upheaval. Joshua remained close by, his small frame shivering slightly in the chill, the palpable tension in his body radiating waves of uncertainty. Mom? His voice trembled slightly. What did he mean by change our lives forever? I wished I had an answer, some sort of reassurance I could give him that everything would be okay, that the world we had built together wouldn't crumble beneath the weight of a stranger's presence. But how could I reassure him when my heart ached with confusion? I don't know, sweetheart. Sometimes people say things they don't fully understand. Does he really want to see me? The vulnerability in his words cut through me like a serrated knife. I had always been Joshua's fortress, the steady ground he could depend on, but now I felt the facade of that strength cracking under the pressure of uncharted territory. Joshua, you know you're the most important person in my life, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. No matter what, you come first. I promise you that. We just need to think about all this, give it time. You don't have to have all the answers today. Looking up at me, his eyes still glistened with tears, the innocence of childhood clashing with the brutal truths that had invaded our lives. What if I want to know? I knelt down to meet his gaze, the worry on his young face pulling the strings of my heart. Then we will figure it out together, one step at a time. You don't have to carry this weight alone. I'm here for you. Always. As the streetlights flickered overhead, casting gentle pools of light on the sidewalk, I spotted a small café across the road, its windows glowing warmly against the dark. It felt like an invitation to escape the questions looming over us. How about we get some hot chocolate? I suggested, hoping to whisk away the heavy shadows with something simple and comforting. Joshua nodded slowly, a flicker of excitement dimly lighting up his face as he pondered the prospect of sweet warmth. We crossed the street, hand in hand. Our orientation towards safety and joy felt like a parenthesis away from the chaos. Yet, even as I steered him into the café, the reality of that man's existence remained like a distant storm cloud, lingering just beyond our now opaque horizon. We settled into a cozy booth. Joshua's small fingers curled tightly around the ceramic cup as he took delicate sips. I watched him, attuned to the ebbs and flows of his feeling. So few moments in life allowed for pure childhood bliss, before reality inevitably surged in like waves against the shore. What if he tells me something I don't want to hear, Mom? Joshua's voice was quiet, vulnerable, a soft whisper that tugged at my heart. Then we'll handle it together, I replied, feeling the truth in my words. We've always faced challenges together, right? You and me against the world. Nothing can change the bond we share, no matter what happens. With every sip, I hoped to convey to him the strength of our connection, the depth of my love, and the unfaltering promise that I would be there, guiding him through even the darkest storms. Yet, even as I looked into Joshua's hopeful gaze, a deeper worry gnawed at my insides. What if this wasn't the end of chaos, but merely the eye of the storm? Just then, the cafe door swung open with a soft jingle, and a burst of laughter flooded in, echoing off the walls. A group of young adults stumbled into the cafe, their carefree banter punctuating our subdued moment. One of them, a tall figure with a mop of dark hair, caught my eye. He paused, as if sensing the charged energy at our table. My heart raced. Could he possibly know about the man from the diner? He seemed to scrutinize us with an intensity that felt oddly familiar. I shook off the feeling, attributing it to the lingering weight of confusion that had consumed me. As if sensing the atmosphere shift, Joshua leaned closer, latching onto the edge of the booth. Mom, look. Before I could respond, the man from the cafe moved toward us, his eyes locked on Joshua. When he reached our table, he offered a tentative smile, one that matched the flare of recognition sparking within me. Hey, I'm Liam, he introduced himself, confidence seemingly built from the casual yet palpable aura of social ease. I saw you and your son were deep in thought and thought you'd like some company. I opened my mouth to speak, but the storm raging within me prevented words from surfacing. If my instincts hadn't already been on high alert, they were now. I think we're okay, I finally managed, not wanting to be rude but unwilling to let my guard down against the unexpected. But Joshua's eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen since the tumult at the diner. Hi, he exclaimed, his shyness folding back in the face of interest, curiosity blossoming. I'm Joshua. Do you like chocolate too? Liam laughed, clearly charmed by my son's exuberance. I love chocolate. It's one of the best things in life, right? Just as the warmth began to seep back in, I felt a flutter of unease, as if I were standing at the edge of a precipice, peering over into unknown depths. I could sense that this encounter might not just occupy the space left vacant by our disrupted lives, but instead could spin an entirely new web of challenges and revelations. "Mom, can we invite him to sit with us?" Joshua's earnest desire to connect drew me back from my fears, and I realized then the urgent need for hope, for the unexpected kindness that could shift perspective even amid turmoil. Before I could respond, Liam deftly slid into the booth, and something about the way he smiled at Joshua stirred a flicker of unwanted apprehension within me. I could only wonder how circumstances were spiraling beyond my control, how our lives might intertwine with this stranger who had walked into our night. What lies ahead and what truths are still locked away, waiting just beyond the horizon. The moment seemed to stretch as I fumbled for words in response to this unexpected encounter with Liam. My heart hammered in my chest, oscillating between protectiveness for Joshua and a curiosity about this new presence who had so easily captivated my son. Strangers had a way of breaking through the walls I had worked so hard to build around Joshua. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet somehow open in this surreal moment. "I appreciate your curiosity, Liam," I began, but Joshua's eager voice cut through my hesitation. "Mom, he seems really nice. Can we talk to him? Maybe he can help us feel better." My heart swelled at his innocent joy, but a part of me raged against it. Could I really allow ourselves to be entangled with yet another person, another uncertainty? I took a deep breath to steady the emotional turbulence swirling within me. I paused, searching for words, grappling against the tether of my overprotectiveness. "Things have been really unpredictable tonight, and well, we've had a lot to deal with," I said, careful to shield Joshua from the pain lingering beneath the surface. "Totally understand," Liam replied, respect filling his voice. "I just wanted to make sure you both were okay." He glanced at Joshua, his warm smile unwavering. "And from what I can tell, you have a really cool kid here." Joshua blushed, casting a shy glance down at his cup. "Thanks. I like puzzles," he said, his innate excitement bubbling over despite the heaviness of the evening. Their connection unfolded quickly, as if it were meant to be. "Puzzles? I love puzzles too," Liam responded animatedly, leaning forward. "What kind do you like?" I like the kind that are really different and change every time," Joshua answered, a spark of enthusiasm igniting between them. "Like you have to figure them out as you go. There's definitely a lot to unpack there, huh?" Liam said, shifting back into his seat, admiration etched on his features. I saw an effortless joy fill Joshua's eyes, his mind lighting up as he processed the connection forming. Yet, as I observed their ease, I couldn't shake the clouds of doubt that loomed overhead. "Joshua, can't we just enjoy this hot chocolate for a minute?" Joshua interrupted, casting me a pleading look that stopped me in my tracks. All at once, I felt a flood of maternal protectiveness paired with guilt. Hadn't I always wanted him to embrace life? Yet, here I was, teetering on the edge of anxiety, anxious we would stumble into deeper chaos. "Okay," I relented finally, choosing to take a momentous breath, a reprieve while internally weighing the turbulence. Liam interjected with an ease that put me slightly off balance. "Have you ever done a puzzle that felt impossible at first, but then, when you finally sorted the pieces, it all clicked together?" Liam asked, directing the conversation gently back toward Joshua, igniting a lively discussion about puzzles that did indeed feel impossible to navigate. In his presence, Joshua blossomed. It warmed my heart to see him animatedly explaining his favorite puzzle. His ability to communicate with this stranger so straightforwardly was nothing short of breathtaking. My heart, however, remained an uneven rhythm, grappling for any signs that things were not yet as they seemed. I pulled the envelope from my pocket, its edges fraying a continual reminder of the impending choices that loomed back at me. Joshua and Liam's infectious energy surrounded me, yet this crumpled piece of paper tethered my heart, pulling me back to the heavy truths we still had to face: the ghost of the father lurking, and the enigmatic woman appearing in our lives like a ripple destined to transform the surface. Suddenly, a soft giggle took my attention from the conversation unfolding. I turned to see the little girl from the diner, still twirling with her unicorn, her laughter coating the space in sincerity. At that moment, amidst the heaviness, I chose to embrace her simple joy rather than the tumult raging back inside. "Joshua," I said gently, my heart warming, Do you see how much happiness there can be when we connect with others? You've sparked something special tonight. Joshua's eyes sparkle and epiphany illuminating them. Yeah, just like putting puzzle pieces together. Sometimes they fit well together, and other times they need a little work. If we keep trying, doesn't it make it more fun? Liam nodded, entranced with this young boy's perspective, and I could see the connection weaving stronger threads. I could no longer ignore the gentle tugging at my heart, a whisper very faint yet ever-present. Suddenly, I felt resolution coursing through my veins. There was a power in connection, in love, even messy love. "You're right, sweetie," I said, gently squeezing his hand. "We can take our time exploring each piece, allowing every connection to change us for the better." Liam smiled, his ease wrapping around us like a blanket of comfort. The café sighed around us, as if coaxing all of us to remember it was all right to seek joy amid uncertainty. And amidst the chaos lurking at the edges of our lives, the realization seemed palpable. Those moments of connection brought unexpected light into the darkest places. Before long, the atmosphere shifted. The noise from the café began to melt into backgrounds, the conversations intertwining as laughter filled the room. I cast a glance across the still-open door. We had stepped away from the shadows lurking just beyond were still there, but the light in our booth burned fierce and bright. As Joshua excitedly engaged more with Liam about puzzles layered with his inquisitive nature, my apprehension lessened, if only for a moment. We navigated layers of uncertainty while recognizing the beauty that somehow emerged on this night where reality threatened to pull us apart. I witnessed the threads of acceptance weaving back together, piece by loving piece. Preventing myself from thinking too far ahead, I relaxed as words of warmth filled my heart. I pulled Joshua closer, feeling the echo of laughter ring between us, and for the first time tonight, I found quiet comfort in simply being present. And as I glanced at Joshua, his small frame bursting with life as he navigated through laughter and conversation, my heart whispered an astonishing truth. Even when life threatened to break us apart, together, we could weave a tapestry of connection, a beautiful, vivid life that embraced every shade of who we were. Sometimes you just have to trust the process, don't you? I offered to Joshua, who nodded eagerly, his small hands animated as he spoke with Liam. The world swirled around us, unpredictable and untamed, yet in the warmth of our booth, we were crafting our story with every heartbeat, vulnerable yet beautiful, like pieces of art unfurling through the messiness of life, a testament to the love that bound us. Yes, it was true. Sometimes you embrace the unknown, and through the triumph of connection, you found your way home.